Yes, this came after how he said he was going to completely wipe out an entire civilization
Mm.
of the Iranian people, which was completely evil. And these statements came after what he said on Easter, which was atrocious.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So good to have you here with me today. In this video, former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene sits down with Piers Morgan on Uncensored for what might be one of the most jaw-dropping conversations of the year. She opens up about her explosive fallout with the president she once campaigned for, reveals the shocking final phone call between them, and takes a hard stance against the escalating war in Iran. You are not going to want to miss a single moment of this one. So make sure you stick around all the way through because the ending hits hard. And before we get into it, drop a comment and let me know what city or country you are tuning in from today. I genuinely love reading where my viewers are watching from. All right, let's get straight into it.
We're finding ourselves in an escalating war in Iran, which is something that none of us want. It's one of the most unpopular things being polled in America today. But we have real economic problems, rising inflation, rising costs of gas, rising costs of living, younger generations that are unable to thrive and don't have hope for the future, but even bigger problems, nearly $40 trillion in debt, and Social Security will be bankrupt in 7 years. So I think, this is the man that I supported to make America great again. However, I think America is going to find itself in a much deeper hole going towards the next elections.
Would you agree with the following statement? If we confirm that you have won, if we confirm that you are the greatest and most victorious blocker in the entire world, will you put down the phone for half an hour, just half an hour, and attend to your main duty, to the 30 million Americans who have no health insurance, to the 800,000 Americans who are homeless, to America's infrastructure that's dilapidated, to the $38 trillion of United States national debt? Would you concur with that message to Donald Trump?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, those were the things that I had been saying to the president, to the speaker, to many of my colleagues before I resigned. Health insurance, for one, is a serious problem. And when the tax credits expired in January, there were over 200,000 people in my former district that were unable to afford health insurance. So yes, that's a statement that spans many issues. But yes, I would agree with that.
But here's the extraordinary thing, because that statement was made by the Iranian embassy of Armenia.
It doesn't surprise me. I think the entire world can see clearly what's happening in America and what President Trump is doing.
But what the MAGA crowd will say, and I can hear them say it already when they watch this exchange, right? They'll say, Marjorie Taylor Greene siding with the Iranians against Donald Trump. What do you say to them when they say that? These were people that used to love you.
I say I'm always siding with America, and I'll never apologize for that, no matter whose statement I agree with. Siding with the American people over cost of living, cost of health insurance, their jobs, the economy, and their future is always the right thing to do. And so I wouldn't be fazed by that.
The White House provided this statement to The Hill yesterday in response to your critique of Trump's DoorDash photo op. They said, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a quitter who pathetically trying to stay relevant by going on liberal media shows to bash President Trump. Unfortunately, Trump derangement syndrome has rotted former Congresswoman Greene's peanut-sized brain. Your response to that charming description?
Okay, stop everything. Because the second I heard Marjorie say this, I knew we were looking at something historic. Listen to her words. Marjorie said this: "We're finding ourselves in an escalating war in Iran, which is something that none of us want. It's one of the most unpopular things being pulled in America today. This, right here. This is a former MAGA congresswoman, someone who campaigned on rally stages, spent millions of her own money, and screamed herself hoarse defending this administration, now saying out loud what so many Americans have been feeling in their gut, that this war is not what people voted for. It's not what was promised. And it's actively making life worse for regular Americans, and you have to understand why this moment matters so much." Because when Marjorie listed off what's really hurting Americans right now, she said this: rising inflation, rising cost of gas, rising costs of living, younger generations that are unable to thrive and don't have hope for the future. Do you hear that? That is the real emergency. Not a war thousands of miles away, not bombing civilian populations. The emergency is here, at home. And then Piers does something brilliant. He reads out a statement and asks Marjorie if she agrees with it. The statement says, "Will you put down the phone for half an hour, just half an hour, and attend to your main duties? To the 30 million Americans who have no health insurance, to the 800,000 Americans who are homeless." And without hesitation, Marjorie says, "Yes, I would agree with that." Now here's where it gets wild. That statement wasn't from a Democrat. It wasn't from a progressive think tank. It was from the Iranian embassy of Armenia, and a sitting Republican just agreed with it word for word. Let me break down why this matters. When a foreign government can articulate American suffering more clearly than the American president can even acknowledge it, that tells you how far we've drifted from serving regular people. The Iranian people are not the enemy of the American worker. Wall Street, endless war spending, and political distraction are.
Wow. I hadn't heard that until you just read it now. Actually, I had resigned after the president called me a traitor, vowed to literally destroy me, and was going to primary me the same way that he is doing to Thomas Massey right now, which I thought was so incredibly unfair to my district, who had elected me and President Trump. I'll tell you this, Piers, it's actually a really good thing that I'm no longer a part of the institution that has a 13% approval rating in the United States among the American people. Also, the same institution that can't even fund our own homeland security right now. So I'm actually very happy to no longer be in Congress and not have to receive nasty phone calls from the president that I supported to get elected, and also be called to the Oval Office to be scolded for not voting for certain things that he wanted that were against our campaign promises. So that would be my response to whatever little staffer at the White House wrote that.
And from a pure factual point of view, have you ever had your brain measured? Is it larger than a peanut?
I haven't had it measured, but I'm quite sure it's larger than a peanut.
The stuff that really, I mean, look, I'm a Catholic, and I found it pretty, I didn't like his attack on the Pope, particularly it's the first American Pope. I think Pope Leo settled in very well. I like the way he speaks. No Pope's ever going to support war. It's ridiculous to think they would. He launched a full throttle attack on him at the same time that he was reposting memes of himself as Jesus Christ, and then kind of preposterously tried to pretend he was a doctor, and that's what he thought he was doing. What do you were very critical of this. You described it as blasphemy, and said it's more than blasphemy. It's an antichrist spirit. I mean, you're effectively calling Trump the antichrist there. Explain what you mean.
Yes, this came after how he he said he was going to completely wipe out an entire civilization of the Iranian people, which was completely evil. And these statements came after what he said on Easter, which was atrocious. And then he put out the photo of himself basically being Jesus on Orthodox Easter, which was so blasphemous. I think it shocked everyone. And then he comes out and says, "Oh no, that was me being a doctor," which was absolutely ridiculous. Everyone knows that's not him being a doctor. That was him literally trying to replace God, which is Antichrist, and that is an Antichrist spirit. And it's written about throughout the Bible and talked about among church leaders everywhere. It's talked about in the Catholic Church as well. And so yes, I called it exactly how I saw it, and I believe many Christians all over, and like you said, we all found it to be so offensive and blasphemous. But then he lied, and he didn't even apologize. He said, "Oh, I thought I was being a doctor." It's like, no, you're lying.
And listen to how the White House responded to Marjorie speaking up. Piers reads it out. The statement said, "Trump derangement syndrome has rotted former Congresswoman Greene's peanut-sized brain. Are you kidding me?" This is their response to a woman raising concerns about war, about Americans being unable to afford insulin, about homelessness, insult her intelligence, mock her body, call her names like you're in a middle school cafeteria. This is the part that blows my mind. When a government has no actual argument left, all they have is the Playground Bully Act, and Marjorie handled it with complete grace. She pointed out something important. She said Congress has a 13% approval rating. 13. The American people have lost faith in this entire institution, and instead of examining why, the answer from the top is to attack anyone who dares to say the quiet part out loud. Then Marjorie gets to the Catholic moment, and this is where I genuinely respected her. As a practicing Catholic, she was offended, deeply, when the president attacked Pope Leo, and she said something that I think every person of faith needs to sit with. Marjorie said this: "No pope's ever going to support war. It's ridiculous to think they would." Yes, thank you. A religious leader whose entire job is to preach peace is supposed to oppose bombing civilians. That's not controversial. That's literally Christianity 101. And here's a history moment that I think is worth sharing. Pope John Paul II stood against the Iraq War in 2003. Pope Francis condemned the invasion of Ukraine. Popes oppose war. That's the pattern. Always has been. Well, and then Marjorie drops the line of the entire interview. She said this: "He said he was going to completely wipe out an entire civilization of the Iranian people, which was completely evil. Wipe out an entire civilization." I need you to sit with that phrase. Iran has 85 million people, families, children, students, farmers, nurses, poets, and a sitting president casually talks about erasing them from the earth. And here's what people don't realize, Marjorie didn't stop there. She went further. She said this: that was him literally trying to replace God. This is a Republican, calling it out, because some things transcend party.
But then he put up another picture, I guess today, of him being hugged by Jesus.
Yeah, we've got that here.
he's-
We'll just show viewers. Yeah. What do you make of that?
I think I find it insulting that after he committed complete blasphemy and then lied about it, and now he's trying to play to Christians, like saying, "Oh, Jesus loves me so much." He's trying to say there that he's being used by Jesus, being used by God, playing the so-called Trump card. Well, we can look to the Bible and see in many places where God did use all types of leaders to accomplish all types of things, and they weren't always good things. And, so the president constantly puts up memes and posts and tries to play to his base. But I think many people are so turned off right now that they're just not even going to fall for this one.
When was the last time you spoke to Donald Trump?
The last time I spoke to him was on the telephone. I was in my office in the Rayburn building. He was at the White House, and he was yelling at me because I wouldn't take my name off of the discharge petition. And I told the president, there's no way I'll take my name off of here. These are women that were raped at 14 and 16 years old, and we have to release Epstein files. It's the right thing to do. It's what we promised. And he was so angry at me. And he told me that his friends would get hurt. He said people that I supposedly know. He said at Mar-a-Lago, and I'm not a member of Mar-a-Lago. I've only been there a handful of times for certain events or campaign functions. So I don't know these people, but he said that his friends would get hurt, and he was very, very angry at me. It was a very bad conversation.
And this is what gets me. The president keeps doubling down. He posts another image, this time of himself being hugged by Jesus, and Marjorie calls it exactly what it is. She said this: the president constantly puts up memes and posts and tries to play to his base, but I think many people are so turned off right now. Finally, somebody said it, because you can only manipulate religious imagery for so long before people see through it. You cannot threaten to erase an entire civilization on Monday and then post yourself as a holy figure on Tuesday. That's not faith, that's marketing. And the Iranian people, regular families who have never harmed a single American, deserve better than to be casually discussed like pieces on a chessboard by a man who treats the Bible like a prop. But the thing that truly haunted me about this entire interview was the very last story Marjorie shared, her final phone call. She said this: he told me that his friends would get hurt, and she ended with this: it was a very bad conversation. Think about what that means. A sitting president, instead of engaging on policy, instead of responding to genuine concerns from his own ally, makes veiled threats about people getting hurt. That's not leadership. That's intimidation. And if that's how he treats his own supporters when they ask uncomfortable questions, imagine how he thinks about 85 million Iranians he's never met. I'll leave you with this. The Iranian people are not our enemy. Ordinary Iranians want the same things every American wants: safe kids, stable jobs, a future. War doesn't serve them. War doesn't serve us. The only people it serves are the defense contractors and the politicians who need distraction. And when even a former MAGA firebrand is willing to stand up and say, enough, maybe it's time the rest of the country listened. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.